There once was a prince who lived in a castle, and he had all the comforts he could ask for: women, food, good housing. But one day he left the castle to go out and seek enlightenment. He traveled for many years and met many people until one day he sat down under a Bodhi tree where he was confronted by gods and goddesses and tested. And in the end, he became the Buddha. If you compare that story to this young girl who lived with her stepmother, who was very cruel to her and made her do difficult things and was mistreated by her stepsisters at the same time, until one day her fairy godmother came and gave her a gift, and she went to the castle where she met the prince and they fell in love. And after she met the prince and they met each other, they lived happily ever after. If you compare those two stories, there's truth to both of them, but there's also some misconceptions about how things work. If you've ever been in a relationship for a long term, you know that it's not about finding the one. Finding the one is an amazing experience and it feels incredible for a few months. But after that, you actually need to start working on your relationship. And some relationships are easier than others, but all relationships require work. It means that you need to do compromises. You need to understand the other person, what they like, what they don't like. You might be lucky enough that that person understands you so well and they're willing to do the compromise. You feel like, oh, no, you know what? I met him or her and it just works. But in a relationship, you need to work to make that work. And sometimes it means that you have to change how you view the world and change how you relate to the world around you. But if you do that, the rewards are incredible. A relationship that is functional and happy, and when there is love and you have intimacy, and it's just such an experience that you can't compare that to finding the one where it's incredible and everything is burning and it's amazing for a few months and then you lose it. But making that real, true connection is not a matter of finding your soulmate. It's a matter of finding someone who's, I hate to say good enough, someone who just is like a decent person who you can work with. And then from that, you build a beautiful relationship. Now, when it comes to liberation and finding enlightenment, even though I don't use the word enlightenment, I like the word liberation much more. It's a very similar story. We're fed these stories about how someone went out on this journey or had this magical peak experience, and they were rewarded after that peak experience with liberation. And after that, they lived happily ever after. I have met thousands upon thousands of people who have meditated and meditated for, like I almost said centuries, but for long periods of time. And that's just not how it seems to work. I mean, that's not how it works because I simply haven't met anyone like that. I've heard stories of people who say they had these difficult things happen and then after that everything changed. But if you look into that, that's not quite true. And there are more facets to the story than that. So we believe that we're supposed to have some kind of experience and we're willing to do hard work to get there. When I was ordained as a Buddhist monk, I remember one young man especially who said, like, I just tell me what to do. If you tell me go out into the forest and chop down trees and just work the forest and be one with nature for 10 years, I'll do that, but just tell me what to do. Because he believed that he was supposed to go out and do something difficult, and then he was rewarded by this one experience where it changed. Liberation comes in stages, for sure. There are things that you can experience that are very similar to the honeymoon of a relationship. When you meet someone, you see something new, and then wow, it's so amazing, and then everything is incredible. It can be very similar when you have peak experiences in meditation, that you have a honeymoon period where everything feels different, and oh, I see the world differently. But after a while, that's going to fade, and you'll be back to the way things were before. Some people are just better at convincing themselves that they are now special because they've had this experience, and so they allow themselves to believe that for a longer period of time. But if they're honest with themselves, they're still suffering. There's still what I call distortion, or this pressure against the world around you that makes you feel you need to do something instead of just being here, of just being happy with being alive and living life as it is right now. Not enjoying your life experience, sorry, your life story, but actually enjoying your life experience. So the similarities of the honeymoon phase with the phase that comes after peak experience in meditation is very similar. And we also have the same idea because we love a good story. I mean, everyone loves a good story, and we like the idea of the hero's journey. They go out and they find enlightenment, they find liberation, and now they don't have to seek anymore. Whereas in fact, it's more that you need to learn to feel that way the whole time. And that's difficult. There will be peak experiences where things change very quickly and rapidly, and everything feels different after that. But more so than that, you actually have to constantly learn to be okay with being you, to be okay with just being here, wherever that might be, to experience that right now nothing is missing from this moment. I mean, you might miss something in your life story, but this moment of just being here is in and of itself fulfilling if you're able to let go of you, of the idea that you need to be someone, that you need to be enlightened, that you need to be rich, that you need to be loved, that you need to find your soulmate. Whatever it is that you believe you need to find is not cause for you to not enjoy being here. One of the problems with this is that we have a hard time working with being just a little bit not okay, meaning that like ground feeling inside of just general anxiety or not everything being okay, compared to when things are really terrible and we have a strong sense of pain inside of us, because that's easy to look at. It's the same thing with relationship. If it's just everyday work, you're going to school, going to work, bringing the kids to school and just making things work, then relationships are more difficult to work with. I made a video here where I talk about why it's so difficult to work with just this feeling of being okay, and why that is actually your biggest gift, and how there is so much you can find there in your practice if you're willing to look a little bit deeper and look a bit different and do things in a way that you might not be used to.